I've worked with hundreds of house producers, and one of the main things I ask them is, do you have a template? And most of the time, people are saying no. Or they say, yes, show me the template, and it restricts their creativity. So in today's video, I'm going to show you the exact template I've used and refined for years, and which has helped me get signed to my gold labels and has helped hundreds of other producers I've worked with on a one-on-one basis. And did I mention it was free as well? So let's get stuck into Ableton and I'll show you how to use this template. So now we're inside Ableton, let's deep dive this template. So first off, a template should encourage creativity and speed up your workflow. A lot of the times I see people have blank template projects, just stock Ableton, and more often than not, this is a really slow way of working because it means you've got to go to sample packs every single time to find key elements which you know are going to be in every single track. On the other end of the spectrum, many people have templates set up, but it's too rigid. For example, they may have a kick channel already set up, but with just one kick in. So then they're not actually spending any time looking for different kicks, which may challenge your creativity in new ways, which ultimately may lead to better music. So the best way I found to set this up is with having a clean aesthetic template with everything that you need. So as we can see here, got the low end, drums, perk, synths, vocals, textures, and a few other bits that we'll circle back to later on. So now let's just go through the groups and what's on offer. So first thing we have is a ghost kick. So for those that know how to set up a sidechain compressor with a ghost kick, this is already done in my template, which is good to go. Across from there, we have the kicks channel. So as I was just mentioning, you don't want just one kick to choose from. You want multiple kicks you can cycle through and find the best one. And the best thing for that is drum rack. So within this template, I've gone through a bunch of my sample packs, allocated several kicks that I like and have slight variations, but all still sound good to my ear and the minimal tech genre. And what this encourages is just an easy workflow. So I've already input in my MIDI because I know where my kicks are going to land. And what I can do now is I can just cycle through until I find a kick that I like. So for today, I'm liking the sound of that one. But you can see how easy and quick that was compared to going through samples, typing in kick, getting 10,000 different kicks, and only about 10% of them being actually good. This way, it just makes everything 10 times easier. Going across from that, we have the bass and the melody tab. This is the chef's kiss of this template, and I spent a lot of time with it. So opening this up will give you access to a bunch of presets that I've either made over the years or I've found and allocated through random sample packs and YouTube tutorials, which I've downloaded. They're all stock Ableton, so as long as you're running the latest version of Live 12 Suite, you can use these to your heart's content. I have then gone through and made 3 melody starter packs for each individual bass sound. I know, I'm good to you guys, right? Don't say I don't do anything for you. So let's maybe turn one of these on and see what's on offer. Let's play this one here. I'm liking that one. Maybe we could swap it out, have a look at a different sound. Garagey bass. See what this one's like over here. Bit more of a distorted mid-range. Maybe try this one. And the whole point of this was just to give you some quick melody starter guides, because I know it's one of the biggest problems people have when writing bass lines and stuff like that. Now, yes, you still need to tweak this, maybe change out the preset, add an EQ to it, some saturation, make sure it's a 2-4 bar melody instead of a 1 bar, but they're just starter kits there to really just help inspire a bit of inspiration with a variety of sounds and a variety of melodies to use as well. So that is the main benefit of this template, and as you can imagine, I spent a bit of time setting that up. Going across from there is another bass channel, just in case you would rather use Sub-Boom Bass, Serum 2, or whatever your go-to bass synthesizer is. So now we can talk about all the drum elements. So going back to the kicks, where we had our drum racks, we take the same principles, but with just our core drum sounds. So we have all of our claps in a different rack, all of the snares in a different rack, all of the open hats in a different rack, and what I class as drum percussion, shakers, tambourines, rim shots, bongos, congas, all of that kind of stuff, I put in a drum rack as well. I've also programmed the basic MIDI in for this, so then you will get a drum pattern that plays a bit like this as soon as you open up the template. Again, you know where your claps are going to land, you know where your close hi-hats are going to land, and your open hi-hats, so why not just have the MIDI programmed in like that? And now, as I was mentioning, you want this to inspire a bit of creativity. So to show you how you can start expanding on this and making it a bit more unique, we could just start swapping out some of the samples. And then on this one, I'm going to loop this like this. I'm going to duplicate the close hi-hat channel, and now I'll insert a new MIDI clip and make a different pattern. And you can see how easy it is to develop grooves now with drum racks instead of relying on sample packs, going finding a one shot, dragging it in, putting it in, plugging in the MIDI. This is such a quicker and more efficient way of working, which for me always inspires more creativity. Sliding across again, we have some glitchy percussion sounds. So if you're into the minimal tech genre that we push on Serotonin Studio, you're going to love this rack. So let's use some of these. Duplicate this out. Just see how easy it is to start crafting sounds. When it comes to the rest of the tabs, so synths, vocals, and textures, I leave these personally spare. And the reason why I have these empty is just to allow your creativity to go off in different directions. I've personally tried in the past just having Subboom Bass, Serum, Analog Lab, my kind of go-to plugins on there. And what I found was just every single time I was going to those plugins, instead of stumbling across maybe a different Arturia plugin that I don't typically use, and then the whole track goes off in this crazy direction, which it would have never done if I was too rigid with those channels and pre-set up plugins I had on the synths rack. Now, when it comes to the processing on these groups, I've just put on some basic stock plugins that I would use. Now, I want to make sure that you guys realize that this isn't just a turn on and it's done, okay? You still need to go in here, change the settings and tweak it, because every single sound and every single track is going to be different. You're going to need different amount of compression, different amounts of saturation to perfectly set up your low end, or whether that's for drums with the drum bus, a bit of a limiter for a clipper, all of these kind of things, they still need changing track to track. But if I only had stock plugins, this is the chain and order that I would use. And that carries across to all of the different elements, including your perks, your synths groups, your vocal groups, and your textures. Now moving on to these three tabs that I said we'd circle back to. We have the samples, notes, and structure. The samples channel you can think of almost as a folder for when you find a sample that you like and you just want to park it for later on within the development of that track. For example, maybe we're flicking through this sample pack on our left and we go, oh, that's really cool, but it's not the sound I'm looking for just yet. So I can just drag that over there, park it on there, come back to it another time. I'm sure we can all relate to where we found a sample in a pack and gone, damn, I'm going to use that later on. And then later on comes around, you can never remember what pack it was, what was the sound, and that idea gets pushed to the side. Then we have the notes section. So this is a nice way just to add notes within the Ableton project itself, just so you're aware of maybe the thoughts that you have in between sessions. So when you open up the project again, you know exactly what you should be working on. I find this is much better than doing it on your phone, just because the phone can then distract you. but you could also use pen and paper if you wanted to as well within your studio sessions. I personally use the note section for when I'm arranging, and maybe there is a section of rearrangement that sounds a bit dead and it needs livening up. Maybe in that specific moment, I can't figure out what it needs. So then I could just use a tag like this, add new element, and I know exactly what to do later on. Down from there, we have the structures section. So in the past, and probably what you've seen in many videos, is people using the locator markers up the top here to structure out their track. Now, I'm a big fan of that, and I still do it a lot within my own projects. But what I've found is when I've given people templates with these structure markers in, they are too rigid, and every single track they make will follow that exact same structure. So the way I like to have it set up now is by using a MIDI channel and then having these MIDI tabs in there, which you can easily move around track to track. Let me show you what I mean. So maybe we're thinking, okay, this intro only needs to be 17 bars. And then section 1, I actually want to start there. And maybe I want my break and drop to happen there. And then I could pick up this one and move it around like that. See how that's much easier than trying to do it with all of these locator markers at the top, and one says intro, one says outro, and it gets really messy and really confusing. And for me, being a very visual learner, having the color-coded blocks really helps me understand and figure out if my loop is actually going to be ready to arrange. Because if I haven't got enough elements in the track to create a minimum of 3 different sections, which evolves the track, then I probably haven't got enough in that loop to start arranging. So it can be a really nice workaround for the arrangement process and the loop stage. Then finally, we've got the send and return effects and the stuff on the master channel. So on the send and returns, I have a basic reverb set up with the hybrid reverb, a big reverb with this large space chorus. This is something I use personally in every single track. A 3-note delay, a 2-note delay, and then a setup glitch rack that I've used with different audio effect racks, and another kind of washout glitch effect with this one here. So let me show you on the drums what all of these sound like in practice. So that was normal reverb, channel A. I really think that hybrid reverb sounds 10 times better than most third-party plugins and the stock Ableton reverb itself. But the large space chorus on channel B is fantastic. The ambient tail it adds really reminds me of like Endless Smile, and I use it in every single track. C and D with a 3-note and a 2-note delay, can't go wrong with these. So nothing special there. And then the 2 effects I spent a bit more time tweaking and setting up for you is the E with the glitch effect. So this is a variety of audio effect racks, a beat repeat, and then some more glitch plugins itself. And it sounds a bit like this in practice. I actually love this change so much, I've swapped it out compared to the third-party plugin I was using within my personal template. And then F with the more washed out effect that I was mentioning before. So you get this nice dub delay effect, which adds that ambience and space with also a bit of echo in the background. And then finally is the master chain itself. So on here, we have a few different things. First up is the auto filter. Now, this is keyboard shortcut to your actual keyboard. So if I go ahead and press 1 on my keyboard, you will notice that the auto filter then turns on and off. This is really good when you're building out a track because you can just drop that low end in and out whenever you see fit. You see how lively this template can get when you just start experimenting. Like I said, it enhances your creativity. speeds things up so you get into that flow state quicker. And with nice tools there, it really gets you to experiment and think in new ways, which, ultimately that leads to better tracks. And then the final few things on the template is we have this washed out effect. So I'll play this one for you. This is a kind of combination of an echo washout and a reverb washout set up on Macro 1. So you get a nice effect there. And I've also set up a macro for the auto filter control with the DJ effect. So this works if you push it to the right, it will do a low cut. And when you push it to the left, it will do a high cut, exactly the same way as your Pioneer mixer works. So that's a really nice new feature of Ableton 12's auto filter. I also have this stock Ableton effect for DJ Master Channel. If you guys DJ, that will look very familiar with your low, mids, and highs EQ. It can be really nice to automate in some areas of the arrangement. And the way the low EQ is set up just sounds very different to the filter setup that we've got over there. And then finally, we just have a easy, quick master chain that you can set up. Again, this is not a mastering chain. Do not rely on this to master your own tracks. Source a professional to do it, or do it yourself, but do it professionally. This is just something you can easily click on. It enhances, adds some color and life into your track, helps build that vibe, and gives you that indication of if you have all the right elements in there, and gives you that reference to what it may sound like compared to a professionally mastered track. So there you go. That is my brand new Minimal Tech template for you guys to use. Like I said, this is iterations of the exact template I've used for years. It's been on constant refinement. If you've had any of the past templates, you'll know this. There's some really great new useful features within this one, especially within the bass presets and those melody starter kits. And as mentioned in the intro, this is free, so just go and pick it up in the link down below. Anyways, I'll catch you guys in another video.